Hey everybody, welcome back to another bullet-filled edition of Shoreviewken. Today we're taking a look at what is perhaps my favorite shoot-'em-up on the Sega Dreamcast, which, if you're familiar with Dreamcast shooters, is very high praise. It's Zero Gunner 2, which was released originally in arcades and on the Dreamcast in Japan only in 2001, but in 2018 it was made available on the Nintendo Switch, along with a whole bunch of other great shooters developed by PsiKyo, such as Strikers 1945 and Gunbird. In this game, you take control of the legendary Zero Gunner Squadron as they take on an evil corporation that have created a weather-controlling device that they're using to take over the world, but those poor bastards didn't count on you and your kick-ass Apache attack helicopter blowing all of their stuff to smithereens. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why I love video games. Where else will you hear a plot synopsis like that? So, as I said, this is a PsiKyo shooter, and as such, there are certain things you can always expect from their games. You have a few different ships to choose from that all have different primary and secondary weapons, as well as different super attacks that are built up after collecting energy particles from destroyed enemies, providing something in the way of gameplay variety. And a number of the stages are played in random order, and there are a ton of difficulty options to choose from to suit all skill levels. What sets Zero Gunner apart from PsiKyo's other shooters is that it's a full 360-degree shooter, so enemies and projectiles can come at you from any direction, and you have a full range of motion, which makes the game actually a little bit tougher than your average side-scrolling or top-down shooters, as you have to pay attention literally to every inch of the screen, but it makes for some extremely fun gameplay, with the controls being pretty much spot on, especially if you're using an arcade joystick. This is an immensely enjoyable shooter, lots of stages, huge boss battles, and a challenge that's as fair or as tough as you want it to be makes this a more or less perfect shooter in the gameplay department, in my opinion. The visuals and sound design is where the game falls a little short of some of PsiKyo's other works. It doesn't feature a colorful fantasy setting or the brilliant 2D sprite work that they're usually known for, but instead goes for a fully rendered 3D look, which doesn't look bad, not by a long shot. It's just that I pretty much always prefer 2D graphics in my shooters, but overall, this is a fairly good-looking game, and the soundtrack, while enjoyable, is definitely very subdued for such an action-packed shooter, at least for the most part. A lot of the stage themes would fit just as well probably in a puzzle game, while others have an almost funk techno sound to them, but again, it's not bad at all. It's actually very good. It just feels a little bit out of place. So with graphics and sound that are really good, if a bit unconventional for the genre, smooth controls, plenty of challenge and variety, and overall extremely fun gameplay, Zero Gunner 2 is definitely one of the top shooters on the Dreamcast. So this is an amazing game, again quite possibly my favorite shooter on the Dreamcast, a system with more great shooters than I can count, so I definitely recommend it to fans of shoot-'em-ups who haven't tried it yet, and even if you aren't a shooter fan, I'd still recommend giving it a shot. It's really fun. The Dreamcast version is very expensive, unfortunately, usually going for between $150 and $200, scaring off all but the most dedicated Dreamcast collectors, but as I said before, it can also be picked up on the Nintendo eShop for a small fraction of that cost. So if you have a Switch, that's probably your best bet. Either way, if you're playing Zero, Gunner 2, you're going to be having a good time. It's awesome.